Ancient humans watched children die regularly. They starved through entire winters. Predators hunted them at night. Violence wasn't a news story, it was a Tuesday. And yet somehow the kind of chronic low-grade depression that now affects hundreds of millions of people was significantly rarer back then. Something was protecting them, and somewhere between 50,000 BC and right now, we threw almost all of it away. Here's something nobody tells you. Depression is not a modern invention. The oldest medical document in human history, an Egyptian papyrus scroll written nearly 4,000 years ago, describes it word for word. A heaviness of the heart, a darkness with no visible source. A person who cannot eat, cannot sleep, cannot find a reason to move. They had a name for it, they had treatments for it, and they figured all of that out without a single therapist, a single antidepressant, or a single Instagram post telling them to go for a walk and drink water. But here's the part that should genuinely mess with you. Ancient humans had every reason to be more depressed than us. Way more. They didn't have Netflix to distract them. They didn't have food delivery when hunting went badly. They watched people they loved die from infections we now cure with a single prescription. Their daily survival checklist included things like don't get eaten and find literally anything to eat. And yet, the evidence suggests they were doing significantly better than us on the mental health front. So what were they doing that we're not? First thing, ancient humans moved constantly, and we're not talking about a morning jog or a gym session 3 times a week that you canceled twice and feel guilty about. We're talking about 5 to 10 miles of walking every single day just to survive. Finding food, finding water, moving camp, following animals across open ground. That level of movement produces something remarkable in the brain. It raises serotonin, it raises dopamine, it actively reduces cortisol, the stress hormone that when it runs too high for too long, literally starts damaging the parts of your brain responsible for regulating mood. In other words, your ancient ancestor wasn't working out. They were just trying not to starve. But the side effect of that survival lifestyle was a brain that was chemically protected from depression in ways modern humans have almost entirely lost. And then about 10,000 years ago, we invented agriculture. We settled down. We stopped moving. We sat in fields and stored grain and thought we were making progress. We were. On almost every measurable front, we were. Except that one. Second thing, ancient humans were almost never alone. And this is a big one. Hunter-gatherer bands averaged between 20 and 150 people. You slept near other people. You ate with other people. You moved with other people. There was no commuting alone in a car. No working alone in a cubicle. No scrolling alone in a dark room at midnight wondering why the group chat has gone quiet. Physical presence of other humans, actual bodies, and actual proximity is one of the most powerful regulators of the stress response that exists. Skin-to-skin contact raises oxytocin and directly suppresses the neurochemical pattern that leads to depressive states. Ancient humans didn't have therapy, but they had something therapy is specifically designed to partially replace. Constant human presence. The group wasn't optional. The group was survival. That forced togetherness, that absolute inability to retreat into isolation for days at a time may have been one of the most powerful antidepressants in all of human history, and we replaced it with individual apartments and a follow button. But here's the thing, depression still existed. The papyrus scrolls prove it. So what did they actually do when it hit? And this is where it gets genuinely fascinating, because across civilizations that never communicated with each other, ancient Egypt, ancient Greece, ancient Rome, remarkably similar treatments appeared independently. The Egyptians prescribed walks along the Nile with musicians playing beside the patient. Not a metaphor. Literally, a person who cannot get out of bed gets taken outside near water with live music. The ancient Greeks built entire healing temples called Asclepiae sanctuaries, where the treatment included baths, exercise, controlled diet, theatrical performances, and dream interpretation. The ancient Romans documented treating melancholia with music and long walks in green spaces. None of these cultures understood serotonin. None of them had ever heard of a neurotransmitter, but through centuries of watching what actually helped, they had independently arrived at the same interventions that modern neuroscience has now confirmed actually work. Aerobic exercise, sunlight, social connection, music, narrative processing. They got the right answer without knowing the question. That's honestly one of the more humbling things in all of human history. Thousands of years before anyone understood brain chemistry, multiple civilizations on opposite sides of the planet looked at a suffering person and said, take them outside, put them near water, play music, surround them with people. Modern psychiatry took until the 20th century to arrive at roughly the same conclusion. The third thing they did was was the most brutal and the most honest. They kept moving anyway, not because someone inspired them, not because they found their purpose, because stopping wasn't an option, because the group needed you, because the food didn't collect itself. Modern depression research has this counterintuitive finding called behavioral activation. The basic idea is that doing things before you feel like doing them is one of the most effective treatments for depression that exists. You don't wait until you feel motivated to act. You act, and then motivation follows. The ancient world enforced behavioral activation by default. You didn't wait until you felt better to go hunting. You hunted because otherwise everyone starved, including you. The structure of survival was also the structure of recovery. So what actually happened? We removed almost every single environmental condition that protected ancient humans from chronic depression: movement, community, sunlight, physical connection, collective ritual, shared purpose. And we replaced them with their opposites: sedentary work, digital isolation, indoor living, fragmented communities, jobs disconnected from any visible result. And then we express complete surprise that hundreds of millions of people are struggling. Ancient humans didn't have better brains than us. They had better environments for the brains they had. The brain hasn't changed in 300,000 years. The same wiring, the same needs, the same ancient system running inside a world it was never built for. That's not a modern mental health crisis. That's a 10,000-year-old mismatch, and we're all just living in the middle of it.